Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Tangle YouTube channel. It's a historic day in United States history, so I'm jumping on the YouTube channel to break down some of what just happened and share 24 thoughts with you on President Joe Biden dropping out of the race, because I'm seeing a lot of commentary out there, and frankly, a lot of it's not very good. So I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts, and I hope add some clarity and maybe some realistic commentary to what's going on. So a normal edition of Tangle and a normal My Take today just didn't do it justice. So instead, I just got down 24 thoughts on what just happened. And I hope you'll bear with me and find some value in them, because there's so much here to unpack. It's honestly hard to wrap your head around. First and foremost, I just want to say President Biden made the right decision. I said this 2 weeks ago. I thought it was obvious that President Biden should drop out through several different lenses. If you're an American without a horse in the race, I don't believe he could competently be president for another 4 years. Watch a video of President Biden from 3 years ago and then watch the debate and then tell me in 4 years you were confident he'd be okay. Nobody can do that. Given that, he just shouldn't be running for president. Now, if I put my Democratic strategist hat on, I'd want to pivot because Biden was likely to lose the election, while the party has a bench of stronger candidates they could call on. If observing this as a GOP strategist, Biden was probably the candidate you wanted to face, but Harris would be a close second, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second. Number two, it's always weird watching political talking points just develop in real time. And immediately after Biden's announcement, I watched several prominent conservatives and Trump supporters start suggesting that Democratic elites were undermining democracy by forcing Biden out. Some called it a coup, arguing that primary voters elected Biden and now the party elites had kneecapped his reelection. I think this is really, really silly. Democrats didn't hold a competitive primary. There was no real primary against Joe Biden. Secondly, voters pushed this, not Democratic elites. Biden was getting crushed in swing state polls, and the response to the debate from a large portion of voters was crystal clear. There was disappointment, there was shock and worry, and focus groups' results were awful. Democratic House representatives in swing states were the first to break against Biden because of their constituents, and then governors and other prominent donors began to turn on him. Democratic elites actually did the opposite of leading a coup on Biden. They circled the wagons, and they held out until it was obvious there was no other choice. They tried to stop this, and they failed. And then they came together to push Biden to step aside. Number three, the Democratic Party has done a lot of things in the last 8 to 10 years to distance itself from its grassroots voters and hurt the party's image. The work to ensure Hillary Clinton was the nominee in 2016 during what was supposed to be an open primary is near the top of the list. Forcing Biden out is genuinely close to the opposite. It is responsive to the polling, to focus groups, and to constituent demands at the grassroots level. Remember that only a couple dozen House Democrats and a handful of Democratic senators even came out against Biden before he dropped out himself. Number four, the most democratic way the Democratic Party could have handled the 2024 race was having an open and competitive primary last year, which they did not do. This is obviously common for a lot of incumbents. They don't get primaried. But the least democratic way they could have handled the 2024 election once Biden won that primary would be to force Biden out and coronate a hand-selected successor, say someone like Governor Gavin Newsom of California. I actually think picking Harris, who was chosen by Biden, who won in 2020 and won this primary, is a kind of middle ground between an open primary and the party elites picking someone. Harris was chosen by the man voters picked, and she was on the ticket voters voted for, knowing full well, given Biden's age, she could one day replace him. I think it is both logical and fair for Biden to endorse her. Number five, this is entirely uncharted water. We've been saying that a lot recently, but it's genuinely true. Nobody can confidently say what is going to happen these next few weeks. With that in mind, it's worth remembering that someone else aside from Harris may end up atop the ticket. I sincerely doubt it. Biden endorsed her. She probably has access to his money. There might be some legal challenges there. His campaign has effectively been transferred to her. I think this is a done deal, to be clear, even though the delegates at the DNC convention could try to go another direction. To me, the only question remaining is who her vice president is going to be. My money is on a white male with moderate left politics, probably popular from a swing state. That means Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. All would be near the top of my list in likelihood. It will not be Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, Mitt Romney, or Joe Biden, which I've seen a lot of people suggest on Twitter who are just kind of living in la la land. Number 6, by far the biggest scandal about Biden's decision, if there is one, is that it took so long. Biden's inner circle did their best to shield him from press scrutiny and conceal the decline that was observable to anyone with 2 ears and 2 eyes. The media obliged. Some of us have been questioning Biden's fitness for several years and taking a great deal of flack for it. He said he was going to be a bridge to the next generation and implied he'd be a one-term president. Now he will be. But the pressure campaign required to get here is remarkable. Number 7, I'm fully supportive of an open convention. Part of that is selfish. Tangle has press passes for the DNC. We applied for the RNC and the DNC, but we only got the latter. So I'm actually going to be there in person with John Law, our podcast and YouTube producer. And I'd be very interested to see how this all unravels in person if the process were totally open. But I also think an open convention is the most democratic option. And I think it'd be good for this party to shake things up and see what happens if they let their top talent fight it out. Number 8, how about Nancy Pelosi? Has any politician in the last few decades wielded more consistent power over the Democratic Party than her? She is going to get a lot of credit on and off the record for orchestrating Biden's ouster, and it's pretty incredible to consider what a force she still is even after stepping down from her House leadership position. Number 9, a lot of people are wondering aloud how Joe Biden is fit to serve but not fit to run for re-election. I think this is a very fair question. One simple answer is that Biden is not dropping out because he or his inner circles believes he isn't fit to serve, but they're dropping out because he isn't likely to win. Another plausible answer is that his circle believes he is fit to serve right now, but recognize that, given the huge toll the last 3 years have taken on him, 4 years from now, he probably won't be able to do his job. However, it is possible that Biden isn't fit to serve right now. I genuinely don't know which answer is right because I don't know enough about his medical history or day-to-day state to say, in part because his presidency has been shrouded in a lot of mystery. But based on how he has appeared in public, it's hard to imagine he is fully in control of his administration. Number 10, two of my least favorite groups in politics are the overeducated, self-righteous, ultra-progressive liberals who constantly try to police people's language, and the proudly ignorant alt-right conservatives who embrace worm-brain conspiracies about literally everything. But I have to say, the new breed of Bitcoin tech bro elites like David Sachs and even Elon Musk, who seemingly started following politics 4 months ago and now confidently think they know everything, while making harebrained predictions like Michelle Obama is going to become the nominee, are quickly climbing up my list. Number 11, I messaged about 50 to 60 friends and family on Sunday night with an open-ended question. How are you feeling about the prospect of Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden? Of the Democratic voters who responded, the majority of whom live in Pennsylvania, by the way, where I grew up and live, the number one response was relieved. Here are some other common representative responses I got from this little focus group. Biden did the right thing. I'm worried Harris can't win. I wish it was an open convention. Nervous, but hopeful. I have hope. I'm all in. Confident our odds are better with Harris or any Democrat. Needed something to re-energize the party. Notably absent was anyone saying it was the wrong choice or expressing any anger about the decision. Number 12. Of the Republican voting friends and family who responded, these were the common responses I got. She's a hack. She's a fraud. She's better than Biden because of her age, but worse on policy. She's more progressive. Trump is going to mop the floor with her. Trump will crush her. Scarier on policy, but better because she isn't so old. I'm voting for Trump no matter what, so it doesn't matter. I'm curious to see her VP, but I am probably voting third party. Number 13. I posed the same question on Twitter. There, the most common sentiment, at least as of this writing, was that Harris couldn't win, may not be the nominee, or shouldn't be the nominee. There was the same relief and support for Biden dropping out, but much more skepticism she could beat Trump. Number 14. I don't think Vice President Kamala Harris is a great politician. I've been very critical of her in the past. I think she fails to connect with voters en masse, hence her middling performance in the 2020 Democratic primary. However, people have gotten so negative on her that at this point, I actually think she might be underrated. Memorable exceptions aside, she's a good speaker. She's a good debater. She's youthful compared to Biden or Trump. She was a prosecutor and she can deliver like one. She wrote a whole book on reducing crime, which remains one of the top issues coming into the 2024 election. If she and Trump debate, I think she's going to do a lot better than people seem to think. Number 15. Small dollar donors raised over $27.5 million on Act Blue in the first 5 hours of Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, and over $50 million by this morning. That is a sign of incredibly strong grassroots support for Harris or for Biden dropping out, or both. Number 16. Biden was a pretty big drag on the party in polling the last few months. Consider a recent set of YouGov polls. In Arizona, Trump was up on Biden by 7 points, but the Democratic Senate nominee was up on the Republican Senate nominee by 8 points. In Michigan, Trump was up on Biden by 2 points, but the Democratic Senate nominee was up on the Republican Senate nominee by 9 points. In Pennsylvania, Trump up on Biden by 3 points, but the Dem Senate nominee up on the Republican Senate nominee by 12. Goes on like this through all the swing states. It's worth stating plainly that Democrats are probably stronger in these swing states than Republicans, but Biden was just that bad for many voters compared to Trump. Harris will almost certainly close this gap. Number 17. Donald Trump is now the oldest nominee of any major party in U.S. history. Get ready to hear that a lot from Democrats. Interestingly, in the last 30 years, there have been 4 instances where a Democrat running for president was running against a Republican who was 10 or more years older than them. Democrats won all 4 of those races. Clinton over Bush in 1992, Clinton over Dole in 96, Obama over McCain in 2008, and Obama over Romney in 2012. Number 18. If I had to put odds on the Biden-Trump matchup, I would have said there was about a 70% chance Trump was going to win. I think if Harris picks a moderate candidate from a swing state as her running mate, her odds are a lot closer to 50% to win. It's basically a coin flip in my eyes. My initial instinct was this might bring a jolt of energy strong enough to make her a favorite, but after I spent a night on all the available polling, it's pretty clear she's still an underdog right now. After the campaigning and the twists and turns of the race, I could easily see Trump creating some distance. But I think in the midst of the assassination attempt and questions about Biden's fitness, a lot of people have forgotten how much your average Democrat or moderate genuinely detests Trump. He has some of the worst negatives of any politician ever. And I think Democrats very well may end up back in the driver's seat before the November election. Number 19. What does Biden do now? I'm surprised more people aren't talking about this. He has 5 months left of his presidency. He was spurned by his own party. He clearly did not want to drop out, but was instead forced out by the people around him. I'm very, very curious to see how he reacts. Will he quietly ride off into the sunset? Will he reorient all his energy to Harris's campaign and beating Trump? Or will we see the kind of dark Brandon meme in action? Some kind of Biden unchained, who says and does whatever he wants. Does he pardon his son, Hunter? Will he just fight hard to push his agenda and pick up all these pet projects before leaving office? I honestly have no read on where this is going, and I'm very, very curious to see. Number 20. Fun fact, this will be the first presidential election since 1976 to not have a Biden, Bush, or Clinton on the ticket. Wrap your head around that for a second. Number 21. I was listening to the sports analyst Bill Simmons discuss Biden dropping out this morning. Big Bill Simmons fan, shout out to my guy. He compared it to an NFL team's fan base, really wanting a second-string quarterback to come in because the starter was playing terribly, and then realizing that the second stringer was the second stringer for a reason. I think this is a really good analogy to predict what might happen, i.e. Harris flopping and Democrats getting rolled. However, sometimes it's also true that a second-string quarterback comes in and absolutely lights it up, even if he's worse than the starter, because the defense's game plan was built entirely for the starting quarterback. And I think that could also happen here. My genuine read on this situation is that Trump wanted Biden to stay in the race and would have much preferred to run against him than Kamala Harris. Number 22. A lot of people like to say that presidential debates don't matter. I'd be very curious what those people think right now. Number 23. I find it very odd that Biden made this decision without us ever seeing or hearing directly from him. I know he has COVID, so making a national address is complicated, and he probably doesn't look or sound great right now. But he just made the most consequential decision of his entire term, perhaps career, and all we have is a picture of a typed-up statement that has his signature on it. He could have easily uploaded a 60-second video or taken questions outside at a distance from the press. The whole thing is just very, very bizarre, and I am extremely curious to see and hear from him directly whenever he emerges from his isolation. And finally, number 24. Consider this. On May 30th, Donald Trump was convicted in the hush money trial. On June 11th, the president's son, Hunter Biden, was found guilty on federal gun crimes. On June 27th, Biden had the debate performance that led to him dropping out this weekend. On July 1st, the Supreme Court ruled that Trump had broad immunity for official acts as president. On July 13th, someone tried to assassinate Donald Trump. On July 15th, a Florida judge dismissed Trump's classified documents case. That same day, Trump tapped J.D. Vance as his running mate. On July 21st, Biden announced he was dropping his re-election bid. That's less than 2 months of history-making news. The election is over 3 months away. Buckle up. All right, that is it for my 24 thoughts on President Biden dropping out. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment if you want. And if you're interested in more stuff like this, you can go to our website, readtangle.com, and sign up for our newsletter, which is free. And stick around. We got a lot more content like this coming soon. Peace.